Kind of quick recap so far. We're through 16 games now. As Louisville beat Marshall today, 16-5, in another Mercy Rule 7 inning game. And we've done an interview with Jack Brown, and we did the Aaron Flacker interview. But tonight's show is just going to be kind of like a quick recap so far in non-conference play, as we gear up for ACC play. It's here, and the good thing right now is Louisville's bats are alive and well. And James, as we talked about in the offseason, this lineup has all the potential in the world. In game one against Marshall, of course, Zion got back. He got 2 hits, 2 doubles. I think he had 2 RBIs as well. So it was good to have him back. And just, as we kind of look at what's transpired so far through the first 16 games, there's been some good, there's been some bad, and there's been some ugly. But, as I've said here before, this week in March is when Dan's teams really start to kind of click. And, from the Seton Hall series to now, today against Marshall, they are starting to show that offensively. So as we kind of go back real quick, James, obviously the first weekend against Michigan State was not very fun. The first game, Ethan looked really good. And then it just kind of, they were on more of a limited pitch count with him. Obviously the first weekend of the year. I think he went 4 innings, if I remember right. But his pitch
He went
count was
4, he went 4, and I think he had over 60 pitches in through 4. And they brought him back out there, and I think he went 4 1/3. But they probably should have pulled him after 4, just because I feel like they're in the spirit of easing them in, and Michigan State's not the team you want to kind of push the envelope on. That's a lot better baseball team than people gave them credit for.
It was. And then, the offense kind of exploded there against Xavier, that first midweek game, winning 23-11. And then, you kind of felt good going into the tournament in Texas. You win the first game against a pretty decent Nebraska team. And then, you just kind of came up short against Michigan and Auburn. I got kind of in a deficit in both of those games, and just really couldn't get out of it. And then, your schedule kind of opened up a little bit, or so you thought. And then you take the series from Central Michigan, you sweep them, and then you come home again against Morehead State, and it was one of those things where Colton Hartman looked really good. Had 1 bad pitch, gave up a 2-run homer, and then the bullpen just kind of collapsed that afternoon. Morehead State had an 8-run inning, and you just couldn't get out of that hole. But the last 4 games, the 3 against Seton Hall, and then obviously the first game against Marshall, you scored double-digit runs in 3 of the 4 games. Even the first game against Seton Hall, you had consecutive big innings, which is what I've been kind of waiting for out of this team is, you can have 1 big inning, but you need to, especially in games against lesser competition, you need to start stacking those. And in these last 4 games, we finally saw that. Plus, your pitching has been better. Especially in the last week or so, your pitching staff as a whole has been a lot better. The ERA was about 6.5, somewhere around there, coming into the Seton Hall series, and it's now down, almost to a low 5s. So big improvement in a short amount of time there. And to me, and James, I want to get your thoughts on it too. And I feel like our starting rotation is going to be okay. Especially Ethan. I think Wyatt's going to be fine. And then we finally had a very good outing out of Jake Bean this past Sunday. Yeah, I think he went 6 innings.
Mm-hmm.
Best he's looked yet in a Louisville uniform. And then, even today, you know, Jake Schweitzer had a good outing on the mound as starting. Other than that second inning, which a lot of that, he hit a batter, he gets on with two outs, and then Marshall, gets 3 runs after that. It's the little things like that with this pitching staff. If they can, eliminate that, I think we're going to see this staff take the next step. There's a couple guys in this rotation that have just had some bad luck, at least coming out of the bullpen. They've just had bad luck, and it's kind of, I think, brought down the overall perception and obviously the team ERA as a whole. But a couple of guys that some people have mentioned in the Discord and on Twitter. Aaron England, he had a very good outing in Texas. He's up there, mid 90s. Brandon Shannon, I believe, he's looked good in a couple outings, and even Zane Stahl. He's another guy that can really hum the baseball. I think today he hit 94, 95 against Marshall. The pitching staff, the bullpen, they have some pieces. Dan always does this in the non-conference. He likes to mix and match and see what works. And as we get into ACC play this coming weekend against Notre Dame, I think you should feel good about your rotation. I think you have a couple guys that you can go to in that fifth, sixth, seventh inning, and I mentioned Aaron England. I think he's your closer based on what we saw in Texas. When Louisville played 3 good baseball teams, he was the one they went to, and he got the job done against Nebraska. His next outing against Michigan was unfortunately not the best, but that was his first appearance in back-to-back days. It unfortunately did not go well. But Aaron England's a guy that has proven late in the game, if he needs to come in and get 3 outs, he can do it. And I think if my memory serves me correctly, against Nebraska, he may have gone 6 outs. I think he went 2 innings in that game against Nebraska.
He went 7. He went 2 1/3.
It was 2 1/3. Okay, so yeah, he went multiple innings. Which in college baseball, if you can have a closer that can throw multiple innings in a key spot, that's good to have. Some of Louisville's best teams in years past have had that. Just look at last year, for example. When we needed key outs late in the game, Tucker was there, Justin West was there. And so, you got to have that. And even I want to mention this too, real quick, is, Ty Starr looked really good against Marshall today as well. And he's looked a lot better this year. Last year, obviously, he was coming off an injury. But this year he looks like he has a little bit more control, a little bit more command. And that's what you want to see because, he's one of those arms he's an older arm. He's a veteran. He's one of those guys that can really, determine whether this is a regional team or a super regional or Omaha team. He is. He's a guy that if you can rely on in a big moment in an ACC series to come in and get a couple outs or even pitch long relief, 2 or 3 innings, like those are the type of guys that I think we're waiting to see from this pitching staff to kind of determine, is this going to be a first weekend team or is this going to be a team that can get back to Omaha? And I'll let you talk about the offense here, but the offense speaks for itself so far through 16 games. So, James, tell us a couple guys in your mind who have proven that they belong in that lineup.
Okay, so I'm going to ramble a little bit. I'm going to eat crow. First of all, love the whole team. Love all the returners. I love everybody on the team. I knew they were all going to be valuable pieces. Even someone that kind of was on that beating the drum for Byram Hutt, I never saw him being this productive this fast coming. I knew he'd get on base a lot, but I didn't think it'd be this often. I wanted to give a massive shout out, and I know it's Dan recruiting a freshman that's coming in and performing early. Cade hit a home run today. He's hitting over 300 for the season. I believe he started every single game up to this point. He's been big. So if you give me a limit on how many I can talk to about an offensive side, we have to discuss Alex Alisea, Ben Slanker.
Oh, speaking of Ben, he obviously had the wrist injury,
Yeah,
and he missed a few games.
he's
And
perfectly fine.
I even yeah, I even threw it out on Twitter. I said it's only going to be time before he is comfortable back in the box. Well, today against Marshall in the first game, he showed that that he's fine. I mean, the grand slam, the 3-run homer, he finished with 8 RBIs. I mean, what more could you ask for out of him? I mean, he had half your production today.
Yeah. So you had made a post on Twitter about has expectations changed from the beginning of the season? Because there was a little bit of a rough patch. Zion didn't play until today. No, people gotta remember how last season's regular season, the ACC tournament went. That was the lowest, and the team will admit this. We've talked to the guys. Dan will admit this. That was a very low point in that season last year. Was that last 3 to 4 weeks before the NCAA? That in you kind of had similar things. You had injuries beating on everybody. You had lineup changes. You get that out of the way early this year, and you started to see promise of guys that may have not gotten as much play time if Zion would have been a go. Griffin Crane showed that he's a legit. He should be on the field anytime you can get him on the field. Jax Heisel, he's a guy that people are gonna love to watch for years to come. Kyle Campbell, you know how much I enjoy watching Kyle. um,
Right?
it's these opportunities that allow your team to build, and people need to realize in college baseball, in the modern era, and NIL and transfer portal, you're going to lose games. You are. LSU lost 4 games last week. Do I think LSU's falling apart? No. LSU's going to be in the regionals.
Yeah, they're not going to be a team you want to see in May or June. I can promise you that.
So the fans that are sorry.
No, yeah, I was just saying, like going to your point there. I mean, we talk about it with the other sports, but to me, there's more parity in college baseball than almost any sport. I mean, it's definitely prominent in basketball and football now compared to what it was 10 years ago. But baseball as a whole, I mean, it is, you've got, and the problem is because you have 300, I think you have 307 Division One baseball teams. And so a lot of these kids are going to get overlooked. I mean, especially at the JUCO ranks now, they're getting overlooked. A lot of these schools are bringing in former Power Five players. So a lot of the Marshalls of the world, the Xaviers of the world, even the Power Fours like Michigan State, for example. I mean, they're bringing in better talent compared to what some of these schools were doing, 5 or even 10 years ago. And so, when you have these midweek games against Morehead State and you lose 13-5, as frustrating as it is, it's going to happen more now. I mean, it just is. And that's why, if anybody follows me on Twitter, or in the Discord, like when it comes to the midweek games, just win, just get out with a win. And it's not going to be, a lot of these games where you win 10-0 against the Easterns and the Bellarmins of the world. Like, you just got to get through the midweek with a win and stay healthy and get ready for the weekend. And,
And
you know,
the one thing
I think a
people need
lot
to
of teams are
realize,
starting to realize that.
the one thing people need to realize is, and I don't mean to say this just because they beat us, but that Morehead team, that's not your typical Morehead State baseball team. That team can hit, and they can. They pitch very well. That they're not the only P4 team in the state they beat. They also beat Kentucky.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
Bellarmine today. That's another midweek that we got later on in the year. They beat Butler today.
Yeah. We got Western Kentucky next week on the road, I believe. So,
And that's a Western team that
it's,
made it to a regional final. I think what was the regional final? And they
if
lost in
I
the last game
remember
of that
right.
regional.
Yeah, if I remember right. Yeah. I mean, these midweek games, they're trickier now. You just got to win. And as we've seen across the country, it's not just Louisville. I mean, LSU, even UCLA dropped a midweek. The entire SEC last week had a rough week. Arkansas split a 4-game series with Stetson.
Florida
South
lost the
Carolina
series to
loses.
High Point.
Yeah, and they should have been swept. I don't know
Hmm.
if you saw what happened in the ninth inning of that game,
Yeah, they
but
walked
High
five
Point
straight batters.
5 straight batters and lost the game. So High Point was very close to sweeping Florida, and Florida was a top 10 team last week.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just it's baseball. I mean, anybody can beat anybody on any given day, and through 16 games, Louisville's won 11 of them. I'll take that pretty much any day of the week, because especially when you know the full picture, the big picture. And this team has got Zion back. They're starting to find their identity on the mound. And you mentioned Griffin Crane a minute ago. So take Colin Mowry out and Drew Freeman out because they have far fewer plate appearances. Griffin Crane, who I believe has started every game, if not 14 of the 16,
Mm-hmm.
he is batting 419. Not only is he batting 419, his slugging percentage is 628, and he's got 2 stolen bases now. And coming into today's game, I'm not sure this is updated, but coming into today's game, he had 19 RBIs, which was second on the team behind Tag.
Oh, since I
Which
want to touch on this before we got to the next thing. Well, of course, we're going to rave about Griffin because we've loved watching him, especially that hit against Nebraska. But Lucas got his 12th bag today. He's 12 for 13 for the year. He has 89 stolen bases now, putting him in third all time at the University of Louisville. I think we all expect him to go up that list. He'll probably pat. I forgot who it was. He was about to pass who has 90, but he'll probably pass them tomorrow.
what's the record?
I think the he'll probably pass it at the end of the year. I think it's like 107.
Oh yeah, because last year he had 53.
Yeah.
He was 53 of 54 last year.
To be fair,
Which
Central Michigan's catcher needs credit for being able to throw Lucas out because that's no easy task.
No, I mean he. I think last year when he got thrown out, it was in conference play late in the year. Yeah, this was his. I mean, it was shocking to see him get thrown out in March. I mean, and it's just facts. I mean, nobody rarely gets to throw him out. And one of the things that I do want to say is an improvement, uh, at least in the last 2 weeks, is the base running. The first few games of the year, I think those first 2 weeks, we had multiple base running blunders, and we had a few people get thrown out trying to steal. But I feel like that's gotten cleaned up over the last couple weeks. In the Michigan State series alone, I think we had 2 or 3 blunders on the base pass. We may have had 1 or 2 in Texas, if I remember right. But we're not running into outs as much as we were those first 2 weekends. And obviously, those are the little things like that where if you can avoid that, with the speed this team has and the offense this team has, you're going to save yourself in the long run. You're going to be able to score more runs. And that's just a fact. I mean, this team, when they get on base, if you get one guy on, you feel good based on the speed and what's behind them. I mean, you just do.
And what killed the team the first 2 weekends of the year? I know Jack had spoken to us a little bit about it. Was runners in scoring position. I forgot the exact number. I think you may have it. I know for the Michigan State series alone, it was over 20 left on base.
Yeah, the
Um,
Michigan State series was like 3 of 22. I mean, it was bad.
so obviously the pitching had to ease its way in. But I think from the beginning, from what we talked before the year, we are all comfortable. We know the pitching's there. It's just getting everybody comfortable. When you got a Sunday starter who was able to go 6 innings and shut out North Carolina last year, coming out of the bullpen in the midweek, you know you're a very good baseball team. So I think that you've seen a real emphasis, and the thing about this team and the way Dan's offenses typically play is they can hit you with power more so than you have seen in years past, top to bottom of that order. But also, if it's a game where they need to hit their singles, they're more than happy to do that too. They're gonna steal for second about virtually every time because the speed from the top the lineup to the bottom. Even Teg stole a bag last weekend. um,
Right. And going back to that, our boy Jimmy Nugent coming. He didn't get one today, but coming into today. He already has 3 stolen bases on the year. Your catcher has 3 stolen bases through 16 games.
Well,
So
and something 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 you didn't see last year with Byram. Byram's really aggressive on the base path. Like I don't know if you've noticed it, but don't get
I
me.
believe he may have had a stolen base today.
I think he had like 2 or 3 stolen bags in the first game of the year against Michigan State.
Right,
He at least
right,
it like the improvement, like it's coming. Every year we say the same thing in the first week of the year. It feels like we could be more patient. It feels like we're swinging at a lot of things we shouldn't be swinging at. It's the anxiety of the start of the season. It's your first like actual meaningful bats that. So obviously that's a given. You got a bunch of freshmen that were playing this year in the opening weekend, and it's a pretty day. So the crowd was a pretty sizable crowd for an opening day for a mid-February game. So the concerns of the fans are valid. You'd like to start the year a little bit more hot than what we did, but I think things are shaping out. I think the schedule is a lot more passable. So last year, you had 32 teams that had made it to the NCAA tournament the year before. This year's a lot easier of a schedule in conference. You don't have to go to Clemson. You go to Durham and you go to Chapel Hill. But for the most part, you bring NC State here, you bring Virginia Tech here, and you avoid having to go to Charlottesville.
right. Yeah, I mean,
So
you couldn't honestly, you couldn't ask for a better ACC layout as far as the schedule goes. And Notre Dame, they won their first conference series this past weekend. And another team in the ACC that Louisville will travel to, who started off, kind of really hot out of nowhere, is Cal. They're coming into today. I'm not sure if they played today, but through 16 games, they were 13-3. So that's another team in the ACC that you gotta think about. I mean, it's the team that you have to go across the country to play. I was looking at their numbers briefly this past weekend. They can hit the baseball. Very similar to Louisville's lineup. They can single and W to death. They had several guys that in over 300. And you're going to see, as we've seen in the past with Notre Dame, you're going to see a team that plays a similar brand of ball. They may not hit a bunch of home runs, but they are going to single and W to death, and they're going to try to run on you. And that's a game, that's a series where last year, if I remember right, it was the middle of March. I think we went up there
no,
and lost 2 out of 3.
no,
Was it
that was the series right before we played Bellarmine at the end of the year. That was our last
at the
ACC
end of the year?
series.
Gotcha. I couldn't remember exactly. We'll edit that out. I couldn't remember exactly when that. I could have
Yeah,
sworn it was early
because
in the year.
we played Notre Dame and then Bellarmine was that next Wednesday. Because
That next
Vanderbilt was
Wednesday.
right before
Right.
Notre Dame. We beat Vanderbilt, went to Notre Dame, then played Bellarmine.
Uh, while we're editing that out, I don't know if you saw the score in the Boston College UConn game today. 26-19. 40 or yeah, was it? Yeah, 45 total runs in that baseball.
So I got a question for you. Let's start this recording back. So we've touched on the season before. This weekend, you got one more with Marshall tomorrow. First pitch is at 11, pending weather. It's supposed to be some pretty bad weather. I think they should be fine. I think that's why they're starting so early to try to get it out of the way 'cause the bad weather's in the evening. This weekend, you host Notre Dame. I know we usually try to do a full breakdown, but with everything that's gone on and the season's been kind of hectic, I think it'd be a fun kind of thing we can do. Of outside of Louisville, we both watched a lot of college baseball in this past month. If you had to pick 2 teams that you want to be, if they somehow they ended up in the same regional or a super regional, who would they be?
Like two teams I would want Louisville to play, or
No,
two
no,
teams I would want Louisville
not
to win.
Louisville. Not Louisville, just 2 teams.
Okay. Give me Mississippi State. They're really good. And I want to see Clemson like more. Like I think that's a baseball team. Offensively, they're good. They've got a pretty good pitching staff. They did take 2 of 3 from South Carolina. Outside of that, they really hadn't had the best competition. So we'll see coming up. Um, and I mean, we saw UCLA play Mississippi State. That was a great baseball game.
Hmm.
UCLA, in my opinion, right now on March 10th is the best team in the country. Um,
Yeah.
they are loaded from top to bottom. But as far as watching two teams play, I would love to see a Mississippi State Clemson game. I've watched a little bit of Clemson, and I would even like to see a UCLA LSU. I mean, those are two teams
Okay.
that talent wise, from top to bottom, are as good as
So
anybody.
I got two different scenarios, and I'm going to give you my Louisville scenario, and you can give us your Louisville scenario for the regional. Selfishly, just because of the entertainment value, I would love UCLA Texas. UCLA got one of the studs that we played last year when we played Texas. There's a lot of kind of trash talk back and forth when they were all in San Diego together at that classic. They didn't get to play, but that's a team game that I think UCLA wins. I think UCLA is playing college baseball at such a high level right now. But Texas has got a loaded roster as well, so that would be good. Um, a selfish pairing that I would like to watch just because of potential. And I hate to say this, is Georgia Tech and Kentucky. Because I think Kentucky's infield against that outfield and pitching of Georgia Tech could make for a very interesting best of three.
Yeah,
um,
I mean it would. I mean, give Kentucky credit. I mean, again, the schedule hasn't been all that impressive, but I mean that lineup is really good. They got Tyler Bell back. I think they're 14-2 or 15-2, somewhere along those lines. Georgia Tech, I think their offense can play with just about anybody in the country. I mean, that lineup is lethal. I feel like every time I see a score from them, they're scoring 10+ runs, and not giving up very many either.
it feels like
So,
Tennessee the years past.
luckily,
That's what it feels like.
it's very similar brand of ball. And I mean, we don't Louisville doesn't play Georgia Tech this year, in the regular season at least. But thankfully, that's one we missed. Because, but selfishly, I do wish we could see that, because I feel like our offense is right there with the Georgia Techs, and in some degrees, I would even say Mississippi State. I watched them a couple times already this year. Like, Louisville's offense is 1 through 9 can hang with just about anybody.
Yeah.
It's just, will the pitching get there? And if it does, which I'm hopeful. I mean, we've only been playing ball for a month, but
Hmm.
as conference play rolls on and this pitching staff gets more and more comfortable, pair that with this offense. I mean, that's why I have said it in the Discord and I've said it on Twitter. I'm not worried about this team through 16 games. I mean, in some ways, I don't mind to see this team work through some things,
Hmm.
because we've seen in years past where a Louisville baseball team will start off red hot, and then come that middle of April, early May, they just kind of hit a wall,
Hmm.
and it's hard to get that back when you hit that wall. Um, and I think as we get into conference play, I think this team is really starting to click at the right time.
I agree. My Louisville, super regional opponent. I would love to see. It's hard for me not to say Mississippi State, but I'm not going to say that because it's too easy. I really want to play Auburn again. I just think
Yeah,
I think if you play that game 10 times, and if you played it back right now in a weekend series, we'd beat them. I think the teams came a long way since Texas.
for sure, for sure. And you know, there's another team I wish we could play more. Obviously, I wish we could play Kentucky more, but I do wish we could play at Tennessee, in a regional or super regional. That's a close regional game that I wish we could get more, kind of like we get with Vanderbilt. Um, because I think as far as the talent goes, I mean you're looking at two teams that are very similar, close regionally, and that I mean that would be imagine a weekend series with Tennessee. Like those would be some fun baseball games.
A
Like
weekend series with Vandy would be amazing.
yeah, it would. I mean, and Vanderbilt. I mean, that's another team we hadn't really mentioned yet. Like they're struggling. I mean, last I looked, they were 10-7, I believe. They got swept in a tournament out in California, which is rare. Uh, so I mean, but if you look in the past with some of Corbin's teams at Vanderbilt, some of those teams that end up winning a national championship did not have the best February or March.
Well,
It's just
people forget
it's
last
just
year.
fact.
People were talking very badly about Vanderbilt about this time last year because of a slow start, and they went into the NCAA #1 overall seed.
Exactly. Like Tim Corbin's teams, once they get into SEC play, they find another gear. And this team, I don't know if they're as talented as a whole from top to bottom as teams past, but they're going to be right there in the thick of it in the SEC. I mean, the SEC as a whole, based on what I've seen, it is definitely down compared to years past. But I still think your top, your Texas, your LSU will be there. Um, Even maybe Arkansas, but I think Tennessee's down a little bit. Kentucky, I mean, they're a team that could very easily find themselves in that top 4 or 5 in the SEC this year. I mean, they're a good baseball team. This may be one of Minjone's best teams he's had up the road.
Yeah.
I mean, you could even say talent wise, I think they're probably better than that team that went to the World Series a couple years ago.
And I think
So
you're seeing that across the board in talent development and teams actually putting an emphasis on college baseball. And you're you're seeing parity, but you're starting to see teams kind of separate themselves from the others more so. And I feel like it's a great time for college baseball. I feel like it's a great time to be a Louisville baseball fan. Not just for this year, but the guys you got coming in the future and the presence of youth at all these games. I know, friend of the show, Cooper's out there coaching in New Albany. um, he brings a lot of his boys to the games as much as he possibly can. Um, it's a great time and a great program to be around, and we can't wait to see where the season goes. I think your expectations should be as high as they can be because this offense is elite. The pitching staff is very deep and is loaded with talent. For the first time since probably 2019, you have a midweek situation where you don't have to kind of pitch six guys if you don't have to. You have guys you can trust to start and go 4 to 5 innings. And that's going to come in handy come regional. You got Peter, who he's working back from an injury that he kind of had toward the end of last year, but he's going to kind of get more so introduced back. They're kind of similar to what he was last year. So a lot of promise on the horizon. Um, Hopefully this all ends up in us all celebrating in Omaha. But I think that's the ceiling for this team. Last year we said the ceiling is getting to Omaha. That's no longer the ceiling. The ceiling is to go to Omaha and not just go to go. We're going to win.
what would you say before we wrap up? How many wins will it take to win the ACC in the regular season in conference play? How many wins?
I think you have to get the 22.
Yeah,
And I only say
and
that because Georgia Tech is gonna be your biggest competition.
I think Clemson will be right there. You don't play Florida State. Miami, I think they're going to be fine. That's another good baseball team in the ACC. But I would agree. I think in years past, 18 was right there. But if you can get to that 20 win mark, 20 to 22, that should be enough to win the ACC regular season.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that, well, I shouldn't say this, but because prime example, last year Georgia Tech won the regular season and did not host a regional. But I do think that the conference is better from top to bottom
To
this
be
year.
fair,
And if you win,
But to be fair, Georgia Tech, like they're elite this year, but last year their non-conference performance was not the greatest.
it wasn't. And that's another discussion with non-conference scheduling in baseball. It's very difficult, but I give Louisville credit. The numbers will take care of themselves. This is every year we deal with this until conference play. You're in your mid 100s as far as non conference strength of schedule goes, RPI goes. And I give Louisville credit for playing some better competition than schools like Missouri. I got on a little rabbit hole the other day because I'm in a college baseball Discord, and somebody brought it up. This is how I found out there was 307 teams in Division One baseball. Missouri's non-conference strength of schedule is, when I checked on Sunday night, was 299th. Don't do that, because if you are on the bubble, you're not getting in. Missouri has played. Somebody said it well. Missouri has played uh, the shopping mall colleges of the United States of America, and it couldn't be more correct. Um, so I'm thankful we don't have that week of a non-conference schedule. So a lot of these teams that you see have 14, 15 wins early in March. See where they're at this time next month, because that'll tell you how good teams really are. And I think Louisville has challenged themselves as well as they possibly could going into conference play. I do think this is a team that will be at that 18 to 20 win in conference play mark. And if you can get to, like I said, 18, 19 wins, you will be hosting come the first weekend of the tournament.
Yeah.
And that's how you get back. I as fun as it was last year, going to Vanderbilt and winning that regional in 3 games. I want to see this team host that first weekend, just because Jim Patterson Stadium in postseason baseball is hands down one of the funnest environments you can possibly be in. And I do want to give the fan base some credit so far early this year, and we have been fortunate that the weather's been good, been a little bit warmer than in years past, but at least watching on TV, like the crowds are better compared to where they usually are in February and March.
We've also
And
avoided a huge rainstorm so far.
right. And I know a lot of people are going to go to Charlotte this weekend. Hopefully, the basketball team's still playing. They win tomorrow and Thursday. I feel like a lot of people are going to go to Charlotte. But if you're in Louisville this weekend, go to the baseball game. Should be nice. It's a good Notre Dame team, so you could get 3 good baseball games at home this weekend to kick off conference play. But also, I do want to say this before you hop off. I don't know what the record is, but we are now on 4 consecutive baseball games with a Tag Davis home run.
That's 9 for the
I don't
year.
know what the record is. He's got 9 for the year. We need to ask our good friend Kelly Dickey, the stat magician of all time, if he knows what that record is, because I feel like we have to be coming up on that. Like, I'm
Oh, we have
sure
to.
someone's done it 4 times before, or I'm sure someone has in
We
the
need to
history of
ask the
Louisville
boys
baseball.
over. We
But
need to ask the boys over at Bet Search Sports what the odds for a tag home run tomorrow is going to be.
well, and this leads me to my final point. If y'all have maybe seen it on Twitter, I've given them a shout out. Diamond Baseball Stats. It's a developing app for college baseball fans. I've had the privilege of being able to experiment with the app the last couple weeks, and it is supposed to launch soon. And they have done a phenomenal job with the application. They update the stats daily. Everything is accurate, and it's an app solely for college baseball. As unlike other networks that do not do the best job covering college baseball, as college baseball fans, is something that we've needed. We finally have it. It should be out soon. Knock on wood. I don't know when, but it's coming out. And I want to give them credit because they have done something that you don't see a lot, but they have given you live time weather of the ball field of where the game's being played. They give you the direction in which the wind is going, the speed, and how the wind will affect the carry in the baseball. Things you're not used to seeing when you're looking at baseball stats. And if you watch Tag Davis and you watch Louisville baseball, whenever somebody's playing Louisville, there's a shift towards the right side of the field for Teg every time he's up to the plate. And the last four baseball games, there has been a steady wind out to right field that have added anywhere between 5 to 15 feet of carry in the baseball. And to the home run tag hit against Marshall in game one was a prime example of how Jim Patterson Stadium is affected by wind. And if you can get that ball up just enough on days like today against Marshall, that wind will carry it out. Same thing that happened against Seton Hall. So if y'all will give them a follow on Twitter, hop in their Discord. They'll give you all the information on when that app is going to launch. But it's a great place for college baseball fans. If you're looking for stats, if you're looking for, players, their number, but you don't know their name, they've got it all. So give them a follow, give them a shout out because they have been great to me and given me access, and definitely helps when you're a big stat guy like I am. So shout out to them.
One of my favorite things that I know you've told me about, because I haven't got access to it yet, is their ability to create your own rankings, and they kind of take all the users' rankings, and they kind of come up with their own set of top 25s. There's a lot of top 25s in college baseball. We typically just go by D1, but if you want to have your own input and have your own, this is a great place.
And was there some bias involved with mine this week? Maybe, but I did get some heat on Twitter for my rankings from a certain fan base in the state of Kentucky. But if you follow me, you do know that I have given Kentucky plenty of credit. They're going to be a good baseball team. They just have not played anybody. They have of their 16 baseball games they've played, I think 13 of them were against Quad 4 competition. So that is why they are at 24 in my rankings compared to Louisville at
12.
21. Louisville has one Quad 2 win so far this year, but those are coming soon. But it is fun to be able to create your own rankings. I did have Texas at 1, UCLA at 2, Mississippi State at 3, Georgia at 4, Clemson at 5. So there was my top 5. Sorry, Georgia Tech at 4. And another baseball team that nobody's talking about, and it goes back to your question earlier, and I should have thought about this earlier, but Southern Miss would be a fun weekend series if you're a Louisville fan.
Yeah.
That would be a fun trip to go down to Hattiesburg, and that is one of the most elite, underrated SEC or college baseball venues out of the Sun Belt.
Listen, I've been harping all summer to anybody that would listen around the baseball program. I don't care what we have to do it. Come up with some idea to get us to go to Conway. I don't care if it's a midweek or a weekend. Just get us to get to Conway, South Carolina.
They have tournaments usually their first 3 weeks of the year. They have tournaments in Conway, and that's about an hour and a half for me. But I want to go over there bad. I do want to get to a game at Coastal. They just had East Carolina down there this past weekend.
They hit a grand
It was
slam
a
walk off.
postseason crowd.
They hit a grand slam
Right,
walk off.
and it was a postseason crowd. Yeah, like that would be a fun atmosphere to go to as well. But anyway, we will be back next week to recap Notre Dame along with Western Kentucky as we get ready. It's go time. It's ACC play. Follow the page. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. If y'all are not in the Cardinal Companion Discord, feel free to message us. We would love to send y'all a link. The baseball chats is lively on game days, to say the least.
One last comment before we sign off. Okay, so spring game's on the 17th. So the baseball teams out of the city that week. They're on the other side of the country in Cal. So come to the spring game, get loud, support the boys. It's gonna be a fun year in football. Hopefully you're on the tail end of the regular season for baseball. You got a big series on the weekend. Hopefully just perform well and win the games you're supposed to win, and the rest will take care of itself.
Absolutely. And we just want to say thank y'all again for tuning in. Go Cards, and we will see y'all next week.
Go Cards.